Akash Inti, the real reflection of you. Have you ever had those dreams, the ones that don't seem realistic at all? The ones that make you question your sanity upon waking. But the funny thing about dreams is that they're dreams. They're not supposed to make sense. They always happen in these fantastical lands of ancient times or icebergs. That was my dream last night, was on an iceberg. I was in like a wasteland. But then I've also had them in areas where it feels like it's everyday life. Some of these could be the places in which I know the most, like walking along this road even right now with cars passing by. And it's funny because these dreams I've often found come about from experiences that have some basis in reality. What do I mean by that? Well, there's some idea in the subconscious mind that these dreams are real, that they've pulled a reference from, right? So in the example that I gave earlier of how I had a dream last night in an iceberg, and I'll get into a little bit more, a little bit deeper. That was just kind of the setting of the dream. It involved, what are these things called? Seals. But seals with like sharp teeth and stuff, who at one point were trying to eat me. Anyways, the thing about the settings of dreams, or the scenarios, the events that transpire, the events that go on during a dream itself, oftentimes are steeped in reality, or steeped in the experiences, the references that we have. And so what I've found, and what I believe, and what I know a lot of people think about dreams in and of themselves, are like, do you believe in dreams? Do you think there's something to them? Do you think they're a higher power trying to communicate with you? What do you think dreams are? What do they mean? You know, whole entire discussion on the interpretation of dreams, and they've got whole books dedicated to this. Well, my whole take on it is that they are a mixture of images, of sensations, of stories, really, that kind of run amok. These are all the stories that are kind of ongoing through the subconscious mind. Remember that our mind processes every single thing in our life around us, and we're often just not aware of it, you know? Even while you're sleeping, your mind is still processing things. The sounds that you hear in your sleep, I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely, when I have music on, when I go to sleep, I will hear that in the background of my dreams. If you guys have ever seen Inception, Inception's a phenomenal movie that talks about dreams, but the way that they would wake up an individual from one of the states of the dream would be, or they would make signals from one level of dream reality to another, is through music. And it's something that I've seen. Oh man, it's getting really, really loud right now, but it is what it is. And it's something that I've seen. Oh wow, check out these flowers, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. I love you, flowers. Is that our mind is always picking things up. So our mind kind of mishmashes all of these different ideas together, and that's what comes out about a dream. Anyways, what was my dream last night, right? You're like, okay, cool. You've been talking about dreams for about 4 minutes now. Are you gonna get to the dream about you being eaten by seals yet? And answer's no. I'm just gonna end the video right now. That was the video for today, guys. Now I'm playing around with you. Yes, it was funny because I had this dream last night of that I was, again, in an like Iceland, barren Iceland. But the thing about dreams is like, it doesn't make sense, right? So at some point there was a gym that I went to, and I was working out with this girl over there. You guys, and the girl, I knew her through one of the people that I study, one of the teachers that I study. And so anyways, I ended up like talking to the girl. I was working out with her and stuff, but it felt like I wasn't supposed to like talk to her, you know, like it felt like we weren't supposed to know each other. Anyways, ended up leaving the workout gym part, and I walked over, and for some reason I was trying to win the lottery that day. So I went over to the lotto, and I was checking my numbers, but I didn't buy a ticket the night before, but I was still checking my numbers. And they were like, oh yeah, this is a really good, we got a good, what are these things called? Got a good feeling for you. Like the cashier was like all excited as if I had already won. He's like, oh man, we got the guy who won already. He wasn't saying it outward like that, but you could tell like that was his like demeanor. You know, you could tell his state of mind by the way that he was acting with me. And that was one of the big things I actually picked up from this dream, was that you can tell, and we can all tell people's states of mind, where is their mind at, by the way that they interact with us and engage with us. It's absolutely incredibly, I think, beautiful and incredibly cool. Anyways, so I go to check my numbers with this guy, and I reach into my pocket. He's like, oh, what are your numbers? And I'm like, oh, I never bought a ticket. And he seems to be very disappointed, because he was like, oh, this is going to be the guy who wins the lottery, and then we get the big payout check. So I ended up walking around the store. It was like a convenience store. I think of like a 7-Eleven type store. But instead of like all of the things that they usually have, there was like bags of rice, huge, like big potatoes, not huge potatoes, just regular, just the sacks of potatoes. And it's like, is this a convenience store, or is this like I don't know how convenient maybe it is, you know, but these are like big pounds of rice, like 50-pound bags of rice, like 20-pound bags of potatoes. Anyways, I continue walking around the store, and I'm looking around. There's a lot of people, and in this store, it's almost like it was a transport back to like the 1920s, where people were wearing, it's a very poor area, people were wearing kind of like burlap type material clothing, very much like just 1920s attire, and like the newsy type attire, you know. Anyways, I end up leaving the store, and as I leave the store, I enter into this barren wasteland of like ice around me, you know. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, literally like out of nowhere, I'm like stranded on this iceberg, or like this sheet of ice. And I don't know, I really don't even know how this happened, but I was swarmed by seals. Like all of a sudden, just seals came out of nowhere and just started swarming me. And started like piling on me. Like imagine like a football pile up, you know, like that was like the scene. I was in the bottom, I was in the middle of it, like just seals coming out of nowhere, like pa 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 pa, and I was like, whoa. But they had like sharp teeth, and they were trying to eat me, and I was like, oh shit. I was scared. I was really scared. I was like, I remember waking up just at the beginning of the dream. I was literally being eaten alive by seals with like really sharp teeth. If you guys have seen Pokemon, imagine like that seal from Pokemon like trying to eat me. It's like those like baby seals was like what I was being eaten by. So all to say, what are dreams? And I remember I woke up not in a sweat, but I woke up. I was saying like, dad. And that was kind of how I woke up. And this was in the middle of the night. It was maybe like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30. I think 5:29 exactly, because I remember looking at my clock right around the corner. I was like, oh my goodness, it's 5:29 in the morning. All this to say, I don't know what dreams mean. I enjoy the stories of them. And I love seeing what is stored in my subconscious mind. I love seeing all of the things that are being processed, because at the end of the day, I'm the one who's chose all of these things around me in some way, shape, or form. You guys might be like, well, really? You chose to be walking on this road right now? In some way, shape, or form, I do believe so. And you guys were like, well, obviously, I mean, you chose to walk today. But I would also even argue that I chose the family that I live in some way, shape, or form. And I just believe that my whole life is choice. Even the things that I don't believe I chose. Like, did I choose to lose my job? If I, quote unquote, if I term it lose my job, did I choose that? In some way, shape, or form, yes. And that's the way that I choose to live. Oh my goodness, check out these purple flowers. Beautiful. Anyways, this one was a very long one. Keep up, thrive, stay sexy.